your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled. Why do you think that is?
Why they would be so interested? He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given.
Well, respectfully, Mr. President, we're going to disagree on this one. And welcome to Wednesday. It's Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. As you know, Chris is off on his vacation cruise, and God willing, I'll be here through the end of the cruise until Chris returns. And the world will give us so much, so much. Just the Epstein story alone is almost enough to complete an entire 3-hour show. So much happened yesterday. So much has been going on since last week when the waters around D.C. were churning with rumors of resignations, rumors of possible terminations, rumors of a split inside the Trump White House. Not so true. I think there could be disagreements without being major rifts. But the Epstein story is one that has interested a lot of people. Many, many people on both sides of the aisle. I'm one of the people who's concerned about it, and I believe you are as well. And you can weigh in on this if you'd like to join the conversation at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. I think in the end, I'm kind of afraid that the Epstein story is going to be the JFK assassination story of our lifetime. It's going to go on and on and on and on, and we're never going to see a full accounting of it because there are so many people, important people. I'm using air quotes with my fingers to describe important people who are possibly on the list. But there are so many different opinions on this, including the one you just heard from the President of the United States, who seems like he's trying to make it less than important. Seems like the President is trying to diminish any thoughts of giving any credibility to the Epstein story. There was some news out of the Harry Enton department over at CNN, and they are reporting that based on their surveys and other surveys of the people, that there is a great dissatisfaction with what we've been told about this. There is great concern that we're not getting the whole story. And I think when the numbers are as big as they have been, the numbers of dissatisfied voters on both sides of the aisle, then you run into some trouble. So I figure maybe we should walk through the Harry Enton news and see what he has found out and see where America stands on these. Not just Republicans, but Republicans and Democrats and independents, and who gives a flying fig about any of this. And so the reporting yesterday on CNN, which I thought was pretty fascinating. Let's walk through it with Harry Enton and see if it squares with where you stand on this.
Let's go now to CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. And Harry Enton, there's a new CNN poll that's just out. How's the controversy impacting the president's support?
Yeah, I would say that the word is dissatisfied. That is how Americans feel in terms of the releases so far of the Epstein case. Take a look here. Epstein case. Amount of info release. The winner here, 50% dissatisfied. Doesn't matter, 29%, not heard enough, 17%. But look at the bottom of your screen. The percentage that are satisfied is just 3%. That's 1, that's 2, that is just 3%. I feel like the count on Sesame Street.
Wait. You shouldn't bring up Sesame Street because the NPR defunding is also bubbling up today. We'll get to that as well. But the overall numbers, and this is a CNN poll that was conducted over 3 days, ending on July 13th. So it ended on Sunday. This is very recent. This is in the middle of all of the disturbing threats of resignation from people we like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. But with 50% of the overall populace saying they're dissatisfied, and add in another 17% who say they have not heard enough, you now have 67%. You have over 2/3 of the American people saying they're not happy and they haven't heard enough. So 29% say this doesn't matter. I think this is a significant topic. And I think we're going to have to get some clarity on this, some transparency on this, if this is going to move off the headlines. It's one of those stories that it's better to get it over with, I believe. But apparently others don't think so. Harry-Anton has more of a breakdown on this.
Just 3% of Americans are satisfied so far with the amount of information released. The clear winner in this particular case is 50%. Half of the public is dissatisfied, at least so far.
And are you seeing a big difference between how Republicans and Democrats are viewing this?
Now, that's a good question. Breonna Keeler, I have to give CNN points. That's an actually good question. That happens. She can take the rest of the month off because there's no need to work any harder. But, yeah, is there a difference between how the parties look at this?
No, and that, I think, is kind of the interesting sort of nugget in what's going on here. You see this 50% dissatisfied, and let's break it down by party. Okay, Epstein case, amount of info released. Look at this. You get 43% of lean GOP, that's Republicans and independents who lean towards the Republican Party, who are dissatisfied. Look at this. Just 4% satisfied? My goodness gracious. When you only have 4% that is with Donald Trump on a particular issue, that is ridiculously low. I've never seen anything quite like it. How about lean Democrat? 60% dissatisfied. Compare that to 3% who are satisfied. Again, 4%, 3% Republican, Democrat. You rarely ever see this type of agreement. Now, of course, there's another divide in American politics, one that has increased over the past few days.
Hold on. I want to talk about this for a moment because he's now going to wade into this idiotic breakdown of people with a college degree or not. They're all in the same category. But 43% of GOP voters, identifying GOP voters, say they're not happy with this. They're dissatisfied with the amount of information. 60% of Democrats. That should tell the administration something. And when only 3%, 4% Republican and 3% Democrat can actually agree that, yeah, we've heard enough about this, we can make up our minds on this, I think you have an issue. You have a problem. You have to address it. It's a big stinking deal. It's not going to go away. And this morning, there's a Rasmussen poll that shows the president is down on an overall approval rating in a certain area. And I will tell you, it's not the economy. We just got the economic numbers. We'll talk about the Consumer Price Index, which came out today. That is, Consumer Price Index was yesterday. Producer Price Index was today. Both of those numbers are rock solid. We'll talk about the Energy and Innovation Summit that happened in Pittsburgh yesterday, with massive amounts of money coming into this country to keep us competitive against China and the rest of the world when it comes to artificial intelligence. It's really exciting stuff. So the economy appears to be holding up well, even though there are people that said the tariffs were going to bring us down. This is the one issue that seems to be bogging down some of the ability to let this rocket ship, as the president calls it, take off. So why not get to it? Where do you stand on this? 888-630-9625. Let's go to Bobby in Round Hill, Virginia. Hey, Bobby. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show with Opelka. What's up?
Hey, good morning. Hey, listen, I voted for Trump 3 times, volunteered for him, donated to him. I just feel like this is the first time I've ever heard the president not be in touch with the base. Something is not quite right here. I know that he is very insulated by the chief of staff there at the White House, and he is not getting what is really going on here. People don't want to hear about tariffs. They don't want to hear about the economy. They want to know what the hell's going on with the Epstein thing. So get off the dime put the ego to the side and tell us what is really going on here. Don't beat up on Dan Bongino. Don't beat up on Kash Patel. Get the AG to start doing something that people voted you to do.
Well, Bobby, to be fair, well, let's be fair here. I don't think the president beat up on Dan Bongino, to use your words. He did say he talked to him yesterday, and he said he was fine. He had a pretty clear statement on that. And I don't think he beat up on Kash Patel either. But the statement from the president on this is, it seems like he's dismissing it as an unimportant. And we even have another clip from the president here. If you can, Michael, cut 2.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
So the instruction, Bobby, was to let any credible information come out. And I think it's fair to let both the president and the attorney general now release whatever they want to release. So if there is credible information, we should see it. And I hope we get to see it. I appreciate you being there. Thanks for your thoughts on this. I think this is a big stinking deal. Very big stinking deal. And Hank, I think Hank in Tampa is joining the Chris Plant show this morning. Hank, you're one of the people who has said something here that a lot of us have wondered. You've got the floor, sir.
Well, you got to look at the Democrats had control of this forever. They had both houses. They could have released any list. They could have released anything, and they didn't do it because there's nothing there incriminating anybody. And if you want to see the Epstein list, just look at the flight logs. The names are on there.
Yeah.
I mean, the president knows that there's nothing in there that's going to make everybody happy, but the flight logs tell you exactly who was clients of Epstein.
Well, they tell you who was not necessarily clients, but friends, because just because somebody flies on your private jet doesn't mean they're a business client. They could just be a friend. Maybe they're going on a golf trip. But the client,
the friends didn't fly to that island.
No, but there are a lot of those flights that didn't go to the island that went to his properties out west as well. So I think the wording is important too here, Hank. But what you've stepped in here is, I think, one of the most important issues. If there were serious culpability for Republicans, any damaging information against Republicans, I think we would have heard it. The Democrats would have put it out, unless, as other people say, there are folks on that list who would be hurt even more. Bill Clinton. I'm just saying it could have happened. But thank you, Hank. I appreciate it. And then the other one that is whose name is often mentioned in this is Alan Dershowitz. Attorney Alan Dershowitz. Michael is in Haymarket, Virginia, joining us this morning. Michael, the Dershowitz statement is kind of interesting, is it not?
Yes. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Good, thanks. That was my question. I had heard a clip of him basically saying, for reasons of confidentiality, non-disclosure, whatever, that no current office holder is on the quote-unquote Epstein list or something like that. So, and I also have the question, why didn't the Democrats do something in the last 4 years?
That is one of the major questions. So we'll talk about that because I've got a clip coming up from the Harpies on The View as it relates to that. Well, one of the Harpies. We'll talk about that. But thank you, Michael. Yes, Alan Dershowitz said he is precluded from mentioning names that he saw were on some of the lists, some of the paperwork involved in the Epstein story by a gag order. And I'm wondering why there can't be, if the president is in on all this transparency, why there cannot be an executive order allowing Alan Dershowitz to speak his mind. I think that would be a good thing. All right, we're stepping aside, taking a quick break. It's Opelka in for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. So much to get to today. By the way, we're only 475 days away from the midterms, and maybe that has something to do with all of this. It is the Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris.
There's no client list. There never has been a client list. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit, and that has been redacted. I can tell you right now, none of them are public figures who are currently in office. Some of them were previously in office. Some of them are dead. But there is no client list.
Alan Dershowitz, that was the clip that was referenced earlier as we're talking about the Epstein files. It's Mike Opelka for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. We kicked off the show with the news that the president's not really interested in this. He's wanting to move on, and there are a boatload of polls that are showing this is an issue with the American people. The CNN poll, we played some of the results from Harry Enton earlier, showing that overall 3% of the American people are satisfied with what we've been told. That should be an indicator, and I firmly believe it has a lot to do with the total toxicity of pedophilia and how we as Americans are completely disgusted by the idea of protecting pedophiles. Representative Burchett was talking about the Epstein files yesterday and made mention of his dissatisfaction.
Should there be an investigation or a special counsel investigation?
I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I just find them guilty and hang them publicly. I mean, that's not over the top either. I'm ready. I'm over it. It disgusts me.
It disgusts me. And I think that's the feeling of a lot of us. A lot of Americans are completely disgusted about the possibility that there may be some covering up for people that were pedophiles. It just can't be allowed. Now, I'm not tired of the story. I just want it completely opened up. And that's one of the questions. Where do you stand on this? I'm curious. Bruce is in Fairfax, Virginia. Hello, Bruce. You're tired of this?
Yeah, I'm getting a little tired of this story and everything. There's a lot of other things going on in the country that need to be addressed and everything, and it's just getting really irritating. And I hear people bring this up. Now, I just heard what you said about the pedophilia, and obviously I agree about that. But and by the way, I'm a massive Trumpster, so I agree with what you just said. And then you just played the Dershowitz clip,
yeah,
and he made that pretty clear also, you know.
Well, we're up against the clock here, but we're going to keep going with this because I think this is an important issue to the people. It's the Chris Plant Show. Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my vacationing friend Chris Plant. Happy to be here, thrilled to be here. So honored to be back in Chris's spot, and thank you for joining us today. There is a ton of news this morning, and we will attempt to get to all of it. There was a procedural vote last night in the Senate that is moving forward with what looks to be the clawing back of $9 billion in wasted taxpayer money, and $1 billion of that, just about $1 billion of that, going to NPR and PBS. We will get to that because there's a whole lot of people that aren't happy, and I'm thrilled if that goes through. But the procedural hurdle was cleared last night thanks to the vice president breaking the tie in the Senate on that procedural vote. And there's great economic news. Great economic news. As yesterday we had the inflation index, consumer prices went up just a little bit, as expected, but it's still at 2.7%. Through the entire 4 years of the Biden administration, it averaged over 5%. inflation. And now it looks like the Trump economy is returning. And then this morning we got the numbers on the producer price index, the wholesale inflation numbers. They were expected to go up 0.2% month over month. They didn't. They held flat. And then yesterday you had this gigantic technology and energy innovation event in Pittsburgh, and the president attended that. It was hosted by Senator Doug McCormick out of Pennsylvania. And that yielded a whole bunch of good news about more investment into this country. And then we're dealing with the story of the Epstein files, which still remain unsatisfying to a lot of people. And I will admit, I'm one of the people who wants more. I want more information. I want to know as much as possible. And so we're trying to deal with it. And apparently a lot of you are on this too. A lot of you are standing with me on this. And there are so many different reports coming in that indicate to me that we only know a teeny tiny bit of what actually happened to Jeffrey Epstein, in addition to what Epstein was up to. Where did he get his money? Because here's a guy with the only real skill he appeared to have was schmoozing. Look that up. It's in the dictionary. But there are a lot of folks that are telling their stories now about Jeffrey Epstein, and we still have questions about how Epstein died, how his final moments were. And, yeah, we can make all the jokes about Hillary Clinton sending somebody in to take him out as you want. But there's an interesting statement that was made by someone who's been called a mobster. He was on News Nation the other night. His name is Michael Francesi, and he had this to say.
I spent 7 months on that tier and in those cells. And the first thing I have to say, there's no way you are able to commit suicide. There's just no way. There's no way to hang yourself. There's nothing from the ceiling. There's nothing from the bed. You'd have to be a midget and work really hard to try to hang yourself. And I don't think you can accomplish it at that point.
So here's a guy who spent 7 months inside the exact same correctional facility in Manhattan as Jeffrey Epstein, on the same tier, meaning he was in the same wing of that facility. And he said you couldn't hang yourself unless you were vertically challenged, and even at that point, he wondered about it. You have to wonder. And yes, the video forensically appears to have been doctored. And there was the other question about the guys who fell asleep when they were supposed to be on the job and didn't give us all the coverage we needed. There's so many questions. So the only answer is complete transparency. That's my thought on this. And so many of you jumping in on this as well at 888-630-9625. Let's check in with Jerome in South Carolina. Hello, Jerome. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, hello, Mikey. Bongino, Mikey. Bongino. Hey, just because Trump says he likes to grab women by the vagina and you can get away with it when you're a celebrity, that doesn't make him a pedophile. Right, Mikey? Right?
Jerome, I thought you wanted to have a conversation. I didn't think you wanted to go out to the schoolyard and sound like a 10th grader who just learned a new word. Boy, does that make you look bad, sir. I'm sorry. I can't have any conversation with someone who's as juvenile as you. And what do you even mean? My goodness. Good luck to you, sir. I said good day. Let's go to Phil in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Hello, Phil. What's your take on this?
All right, look, my view of this is that Trump actually wants these files out, and what you're seeing is a bunch of theater. But what he wants is he wants the Democrats to beg for it to come out because it's Democrats all in the files. And what he's doing is he's forcing them to actually release all of the files at the same time. And I would like to mention one thing. I'm less concerned about the Epstein files than I am about Winsome Sears winning the governor's race, because if she loses, Virginia becomes California East. We are so close to losing Virginia. It's not funny. So, yeah, I care about the Epstein files, but I care about my state, Virginia, a lot more.
Yeah, you've got a really tough situation right now with the governor's race in Virginia, and I haven't looked at the polls lately. Phil, how close is it, or how far behind? Because last time I looked, Winsome Sears, who is just an incredible candidate, what a great governor she would be, she was behind.
She is awesome. I don't understand why the Republicans don't coalesce around her, support her, and promote her. She is a godsend to us for this governor's race in Virginia, and we need her to win. We need to stand by her, and we need for her to win, and we need to get to it right now.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not going to argue with you on that. I'm a gigantic fan of Winsome Sears. You know, I was one of the people who said, you know, I wish Winsome Sears could be on a national ticket at some point, but she can't because of where she was born. But she is a remarkable public servant, great clarity, and served this country as well. And be having another really good shot in office, which I like. So hopefully the lieutenant governor can have a breakthrough. Maybe the president will do some campaigning. But thanks for that, Phil. Appreciate it. Let's go to Jerry in Mississippi. Jerry, welcome to Chris Plante. You have a thought on this Epstein conundrum?
I do. Good morning, sir. Personally, I think there's just too many fingerprints on this thing. I think it's just too doggone big. I think based on, what I've been hearing, this is way bigger than Epstein Island. That's what everybody wants to know about Epstein Island, right? But this has got CIA, it's got arms dealing, it's got Clinton Foundation. I mean, it's that man obviously didn't kill himself. I think we're in a situation right now where it's just too doggone big, and I think that Trump's going to let Cash and Pam do their job. Maybe Bongino. Because here's the deal: Nancy Pelosi is never going to see the inside of a jail cell. Neither will Hillary Clinton. We're about to get shifts, maybe, but see, we're going to have to do it like we did Capone, right? Not for the crimes we know they're guilty of. They're going to have to find something else to get them. Something not this, because, brother, it's too big. That's my opinion.
Well, that's very interesting. I appreciate that, Jerry. Thank you very much. And now somebody who thinks it's a gigantic waste of time. David in Arlington, Virginia. David, you think we should move on?
Yeah, well, not entirely, but mostly. Thanks for talking to me, Mr. Walker. Look, what prompts the media frenzy over the Epstein files, and let's face it, media drives public opinion. So is that once the files are released, if we can nail some Democrats, wow, that's big. If we can nail some Republicans, wow, that's big for Democrats. And that's, to me, that's petty stuff. The other parts, for example, the pedophilia, it's a big deal, but I have to say that morality and ethics in America, I think, is at an all-time low. And I don't think that's the main issue. It's just the desire to embarrass one party or the other. Meanwhile, there's other important news, and I like one of your previous callers has just said, go win some Sears. I agree. I don't know what's the matter with Republicans in Virginia. But so I think the case is overblown. And as long as the media wants to create havoc and want to hope to be embarrassed one side or the other, it'll continue. I have to go with I think where President Trump is going with this, and that is there's much more important news out there.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that, and you bring up a really important point there, that David, when you say that we're getting into this politics of going after skins on either side, and that does distract us from things. But I also remind everybody, this administration is capable of doing multiple things at one time. We're seeing, I think for the first time, even better than in the first Trump administration, you're seeing a better run organization than the first Trump administration, and you're seeing much more progress on his targets, on the objectives he has set. And the president, he was also accused by the left. They said that if he would be elected again, he was going to make his second term all about retribution. And I do believe the administration is probably sensitive to not making it look like they're going after the people who went after him, who weaponized the Justice Department against the president. I do think that could be part of it. I did want to share with you, the audience, something about the Epstein list through the filter of The View. The harpies on The View. Yes, we watch so you don't have to. And it was a year ago that the ironically named Sonny Hostin was talking about the Epstein list on The View.
People were dying for this information. There was some sort of list that everybody thought was going to come out, and who's on the list. What's important for us to note is we shouldn't be repeating names that are on the list, because just because your name has not on the list, but in the documents, just because your name is on the documents doesn't mean that you have done anything criminally irresponsible or illegal or civilly irresponsible.
Or that you were a client.
Or that you were a client. These documents, as I read them, only reflect Epstein's sexual assaults of women and his sexual behavior. So I think that...
And Ghislaine also?
And Ghislaine. And so being named in this suit does not equate to being accused of wrongdoing. And I think that is extremely important, because conspiracy theorists seem to not understand or enjoy facts.
So that was last year. That was last year on The View. What's happening now on The View?
Yes. These are the facts.
There is a list. Trump's name is on the logs, the passenger logs of Epstein's aircraft at least 7 times. That's already been made public. I mean, of course, Trump is denying any and all allegations, but all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
Because they are trying to make this about Trump now. A year ago, it was, hey, just because somebody happened to be a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's, or maybe used his plane like Bill Clinton did multiple times, that doesn't mean they're involved in anything untoward. And now it's going to focus on everything. This is just like what the Democrats do whenever Hakeem Jeffries is asked a question. Everything pivots back to Trump. Trump, Trump, Trump. I hope we get clarity on this. I really hope we get clarity on this. I think there's going to be maybe some more time has to pass before the numbers reach critical mass, although only 3% being satisfied with the information we have is a very important number. But it is distracting from some of the other very good pieces of information and news out there. And we'll get to as many of those as possible. Maybe more of answers to some of your questions as well. It's Mike Opelka. I'm in for my friend Chris Plant, and you're welcome to join us. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625, The Chris Plant Show. Welcome back to The Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant. Thanks for being here. We spent a lot of time talking about the Epstein story because it is still a big story, and some people want it to be a small story. And many of you have checked in at 888-630-9625. So let us try and go through a lightning round. So here's the deal. Have your comments ready. We're going to try and get as many of you in as we can in this last block here, and give your thoughts on the Epstein story. And let's just blast right through them. Let's start with Mike in D.C. Mike, welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Thanks, Mike. How you doing?
Good, sir. Good, sir. What's your thoughts on this?
John Brennan and CNN changed the story about a RICO investigation against him and James Comey. He went on CNN, and now everyone's talking about Epstein. Why are we letting them again distract from the true story?
That's a good story. It's a good story. I will tell you, I stick to my guns. We can do more than one thing at a time, but we shouldn't lose focus on that story. Thank you, Mike. Let's go to Gary in Solomon's Island. Hello, Gary. You have a thought on this?
Hey, Mike Opelka, nice to talk to you, buddy.
My pleasure.
So I've been a Trump fan since The Apprentice, and I've supported him this whole time. And for him to ask us why we're so interested, what this man did and the people involved is, in my opinion, the most sickest, evilest thing mankind can do. That's why we're interested. We want the people involved to go down. But when he's asking these questions and the way looks like he's getting upset and everything, it's making himself look guilty. He looks like he's hiding something. He wants everybody to stop talking about it because he's guilty. I don't believe he is, but that's how he looks.
All right, that's your opinion. I'll take it. And thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Let's go to Dennis in Winchester, Virginia. Hello, Dennis.
How's it going?
Good, sir. Good, sir. Welcome to the lightning round. What's your thought on this?
Yeah, I want to know if Bondi says she had videos of the people with the kids. I mean, like, they can't identify the people with the kids in the videos?
Well, I don't know if Biden said that.
No.
I'm sure they have those. I think Pam Bondi, the AG, did say they were trying to protect the children, the victims in those. So that may be part of that question. That's one of the things we were told early on was the reason why it was taking so long. We'll see on that. Thank you. Dan in Frederick, Maryland. Dan, you have a lightning round thought on this?
Yes, the only list that matters is the people on the videos, as your last caller said, and no one's been arrested. There's thousands of videos from at least 3 locations. And it's the same thing with Diddy. There's thousands of videos when no one's been arrested.
Interesting comparison to the Diddy case, which ended up being kind of a tempest in a teapot, as it were. Not a big story, a small outrage there. I hope he does go to jail. But good, interesting thoughts on this. Kenny in Wilmington, North Carolina. Welcome to the lightning round.
Hey, thanks, Mike. The only question I have, and it would put it to bed, there's a gentleman that you mentioned earlier said he spent 7 years there and that it's physically impossible. How did they find him? There has to be images of how they found him. Was he hanging from a 4-foot bunk? I mean,
well, that's one of the ones they tell us the cameras were turned off that night. The 2 guards who fell asleep were disciplined, using air quotes with my fingers. And that is the reason we were told earlier. Thank you, Kenny. Richard in Frederick, Maryland. You're on the lightning round.
Who has the flight logs?
Oh, they've been out.
To the island have a manifest, and the manifest has a list of the passengers on the particular flight.
Those are out, Richard. Those flight logs are out. They're out there and they're available. They've been published. I think even recently Axios has published them. So yes, they are out there. They're available for you. Let's try and get one more in here. Dennis in Chesapeake. Dennis, welcome to the lightning round.
Michael, hey, Epstein was worth $500 million. Fill in the blanks. Thank you.
Very good. Where did the money come from? Where is it now? Important stuff. First hour in the books. It's Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show.